What's going on, y'all? Today I'm bringing you guys my first run review with actually a new brand, ANTA. So these are the ANTA PG7s. I believe this is kind of like their entry level daily trainer. And just as a quick disclaimer, ANTA did send this pair out to me, but I'm not accepting any form of payment. Don't have any affiliate links. They literally just gifted me the shoes and were like, hey, like you can fully review them however you'd like. So I'm going to give you guys my honest thoughts on the first run in these shoes. So again, this is the Anta PG7s. These are their non-plated kind of entry-level daily trainer. So let's get right into it. So to preface this, actually also I ran 2 runs in these already. I did a 2-mile kind of easy run, and then I just did a 7-mile also easy run in this shoe. So with that being said, let's get right into the outsole of the PG7s. So the PG7s actually have a pretty interesting outsole pattern, not in the sense of like the look, because it looks like a standard regular running outsole pattern, but I guess the textures on the bottom of the shoe look pretty intricate and pretty detailed. Also, the rubber is probably on the softer side of things, so I feel like just first impressions before I even ran in the shoes, I felt like these shoes would have decent grip. When I did start running in them, I don't think that they were extra grippy, but I did feel like they had decent grip on the ground. I just ran on the roads in dry weather conditions as I live in Southern California, so not too crazy weather conditions, but the outsole held up perfectly fine for the first 2 runs. Again, I would expect that from a ideal weather condition for a running shoe, but overall, no complaints on the traction of the outsole. Moving on to the durability, obviously I've only ran 2 times in the shoe and only have 9 miles on the shoe. I'd be interested to see how these shoes hold up when it comes to durability on the outsole. As I said, they do have a kind of softer rubber compound on the bottom of the outsole, so interested to see how long these kind of will last. But the thickness level of the outsole, as you can see, the black part, it's an all white shoe, so you can kind of see the thickness. It is pretty substantial, so I would expect these to last a decent amount of time, especially if you're doing a hybrid of walking as well as running in the shoe. So overall, first impressions on the outsole of the PG7s, I would say they're definitely decent, especially for the price point of $90, which we'll talk more at the end of the video. So moving on to the cushion setup, which is my favorite part of every running shoe. I don't exactly know what compound the ANTA PG7s use, as I haven't really honestly ran in a lot of ANTA running shoes, and I kind of looked on their website. They don't really necessarily have a name for the midsole foam, or at least not that I could find, as well as they didn't have the stack height or the heel to toe drop in the website. So I'm gonna go ahead and reach out to the team, and hopefully I'll have that information back to you guys when I do the final review of the PG7s. But let's just talk about the feel of the midsole. When I first put my foot into the shoes, I felt that the midsole was pretty soft actually, and not a super fluffy soft where I'm kind of sinking to the bottom of the shoe, but kind of like a dense polyurethane soft where there definitely was some heft to the midsole, and I felt like there was a higher maybe rubber content within the midsole, so it didn't just like give up while I was compressing the foam. At least while I was walking around, it did have some kind of rigidity and kind of some support in that midsole when I was walking around, but it was on the softer side. So it was an interesting feeling when I first put these shoes on, and as I actually started running, the midsole did firm up. So even though I did easy paces in the shoe, I haven't ran fast in this shoe. When I was running, around 9 to 11 minute per mile pace in both of the runs, I felt like the midsole definitely tensed up and firmed up, which I personally don't mind, as it brings more stability to the shoe. And since this shoe has a higher stack, in my opinion, or it's unconfirmed, I didn't mind the kind of firmer feel underfoot, so that it kind of supported me a little bit better on the runs. Not necessarily like a stability running shoe, but kind of like a stable neutral running shoe. So overall, when I was running kind of my easy runs, that 7-miler that I just did, and then the 2 miles that I did when I first took these out the box, they are a decently comfortable midsole. However, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do, like a 15-mile long run or a 20-mile long run in this shoe, just because I don't know like exactly how the impact protection is going to be. I don't exactly know also if this shoe was designed to do those types of runs, as I checked their website and it says that this shoe is meant for 5K, 10K easy runs, as well as half marathon training and just traveling, as well as running errands and whatnot. So not to say that I'm gonna test the shoe against like what they kind of market the shoe for, but I think just keeping my expectations like around what this shoe was built for. Kind of like if I were testing a tempo shoe, like I could do easy runs in the shoe, but that's not necessarily kind of indicative of the performance of the shoe because the shoe was meant to be fast. And same with these, like especially at price at $90 as a daily trainer, kind of more of a casual daily trainer, not I guess like a ASICS Nova Blast 5 or kind of like a Saucony Ride 18. I'm not gonna expect this shoe to be able to handle that mileage or that level of impact protection, especially at the price point and what the shoe was designed for, which is more of a casual runner use case as well as kind of a walking shoe. So the midsole was decently comfortable. I wouldn't say it's the most comfortable midsole I've ever worn on my feet, but it definitely did have some impact protection. Like I just ran the 7 miles in these, ranging from 9:30 to 10 minute per mile pace, and my body feels absolutely fine. If anything, I did feel like the midsole was a little bit on the heavier side, or the shoe in general just felt a little bit heavy for my liking, and I felt like I maybe had to put a little bit of extra effort to maintain, I guess, my easy pace, which is kind of sad to say. But yeah, like I guess the shoe was a little bit more on the heavy side. I think something they could have done to mitigate that heaviness or that feel is to kind of hollow out the middle of the midsole a little bit more, which is going to allow for more compression as well as reduce the weight of the shoe. But that's maybe in their higher priced options. So overall, the midsole, I think for the use case that Anta is saying on their website, which is easy runs, half marathon training, I don't really think for a half marathon, for a recreational runner that you're going to run over 10 miles in your training. So I think that that's probably what I'm predicting as the max amount of miles in one run that I personally would like to run in the shoe, which is around 10 miles. If I did 7 miles easy in the shoe and my body feels really good, I think that the level of impact protection will be up to that 10-mile kind of limit or threshold. I don't know if I'd want to run a half marathon in these, especially if I was going for time, but obviously that's not what the shoe was designed for. But I think, I mean, honestly, you can run a half marathon in any shoe. It's just a matter of how much you hate yourself or how willing you are to put your body on the line. But I definitely think that there is a possibility that I could run a half marathon in these. It just wouldn't be my first choice. So overall, the midsole for the use case that they're talking about on their website, I think is perfectly fine. And just from a first run or second run perspective, I think that the midsole is decently comfortable, especially for the price point of $90. Now, moving on to the upper as well as the fit of the ANTA PG7s. There's nothing really revolutionary about this setup, and for the price point also I wouldn't expect it. It's a pretty traditional double mesh upper, as well as it has a little bit of a gusseted tongue. It has a decently padded heel collar as well as some synthetic overlays in the toe box for durability, and along the eyelets for durability on the lacing setup. Overall, it's a pretty basic setup. It's not going to be probably as premium as a lot of other daily trainers on the market, but then again, this shoe is priced at $50 to $60 cheaper retail. So full price, $50 to $60 cheaper than all those other daily trainers. So it is going to feel a little bit more basic. It's not going to be the most premium upper you've ever felt. But as I was running in the shoe, I definitely could tell the difference between this upper and, the uppers that I typically run in, which is definitely higher priced daily trainers. But I wouldn't say that difference in performance or feel is worth that extra $50 to $60, especially if you are more of a casual runner. But I did feel a little bit of, not pinching, but I felt like the uppers fit maybe was kind of crinkling around my pinky toe. It definitely was wide enough, the forefoot, and there was ample room in the forefoot for my wider than average foot, as well as I did feel like the shoe ran true to size. But when you kind of bend the upper of the shoe or the shoe in general as you're kind of pushing off, I did feel a little bit of rubbing on my pinky toe. And I'm not exactly sure if that's due to the materials or the fit of the upper, but it's just something to know. And I will kind of keep an eye on that so that if I break in the shoe and that goes away, I will let you guys know in the full review. But overall, heel lockdown, especially with the runner's loop, was really good. The tongue, definitely not the best tongue in my opinion, but it is gusseted and it didn't move around. And honestly, once I tied the shoes, I didn't really notice the tongue. But when you are putting on the shoe, it is a thinner tongue, not super plush or anything. But some people like thin tongues, some people like thick tongues. It's all personal preference. And then the upper, like I said, is a pretty basic setup. It definitely does have some breathability. When I was running today, I definitely felt a little bit of wind in my toes, which is always a good sign. But yeah, the biggest kind of point of emphasis is that kind of scrunching in the forefoot around my toe. So we'll see if that kind of goes away once I break in the shoe a little bit more. As for fit, I went true to size. There is a little bit of room in the forefoot. I don't exactly know if I would go half a size down because of that room in the forefoot. I think true to size was good for me for my wider than average foot, especially with that crinkling on my pinky toe. If I went down half a size, I think that that would kind of cause a little bit more problems. So I would recommend going true to size if you're interested in this shoe. I think you're going to be good to go. The heel lockdown was actually really good. Didn't have any problems, didn't have to break that in whatsoever. And with the runner's loop, the midfoot and heel lockdown were really good in the shoe. So I'm excited to kind of test this shoe a little bit more. But overall, first run impressions, I am pretty impressed with the price point. I think that for $90, I don't exactly know a lot of other big brands, and Anta is a pretty big brand that put out shoes that are priced at $90. Even the Skechers Aerosparks that I reviewed are priced at $120 to $130, and that I already was super impressed with. So to come in at $30 to $40 cheaper than those, and to still provide a quality product, I think that this is going to be a pretty good option for those who want something different than all the other, brands or running brands that are out there already. And two, to save a little bit of money. And three, if you're not running like super high mileage, or you kind of want an athletic shoe that can kind of do a lot of different things, wear to the gym, walk the dogs, kind of do a casual 5K, 10K here and there, I think that these are actually gonna be really good for you. And excited to kind of put more miles onto the shoe and see how the shoe's performance changes and how I feel about the shoe. Yeah, stay tuned for the full review on the ANTA PG7s. Overall, I'm very impressed for the price point. Nowadays, $90 isn't even going to get you a budget shoe from a lot of different running brands. So yeah, good job to Anta. I am excited to kind of put more miles on this shoe and see kind of how it holds up in performance. So that's going to pretty much wrap up my first run review. Let me know in the comment section down below, would you guys even consider a newer brand like Anta that's getting into the running shoe space? Or how you feel about the PG7s? Would you guys consider buying a more budget running shoe? Even though I feel like this is considered a budget running shoe, it still does have some really good qualities. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts, or if you would even consider other brands. I mean, this is a Chinese brand, so yeah, curious to get your thoughts down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one.